when it first ever happened, I thought that I was stuck in some weird side effect from smoking weed, you know. I was unable to eat anything. I just couldn't stomach any food. It felt like I saw the world in a different way than anybody else, but in a way I didn't want to. You know, internally I just felt like I just was not present and just like I was going to slip out of my own reality.
Hey everyone, I'm Sean O'Connor, author of the Depersonalization Manual, and today I'm speaking with Tim Morris from Pennsylvania in the US. Tim is 25 years old, and he first encountered DPDR back in 2014 due to a bad weed experience. Over the following years, Tim experienced recurring episodes of depersonalization and derealization, which unfortunately became more prolonged, intense, and frightening as he grew older. But thankfully, Tim has managed to recover completely, and he's with us today to talk about his experience with and recovery from depersonalization disorder. Tim, you're very welcome to the channel. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Sean. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Great to have you on the channel. Tim, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. As you mentioned, my name is Tim Morris. I'm 25 years old. I was born in Pennsylvania, still currently living in Pennsylvania. I'm a self-taught drummer, playing for about 10 years now. For my full-time job, I'm a dog walker, so I'm with animals all day. And I'm very big in fitness, going to the gym every day, and just got very like health conscious over the years. So yeah, I'm pretty much a very outdoors kind of person, and yeah, I just love being outside and yeah.
That's a very, very cool balance to have, like dog walking and YouTube drum tutorials, is that?
Yeah, totally.
Nice. Very cool. What kind of stuff do you have on the channel? Is this it's mainly tutorials? Is it, and what kind of, is it like rock or jazz, or what kind of stuff do you do?
It's mainly probably rock, alternative, kind of pop punk. Blink 182 is my favorite band, so I'm sure everybody knows about them. But yeah, on the channel I post just a lot of drum covers of songs that are, I guess, pretty much relatively popular, and I've been trying to post just informational videos on, I guess, just how to learn how to play the drums or how to get your drums to sound a certain way, and just do things that I learned along the way that I felt that other YouTubers didn't really explain much, you know? So that's kind of what you'll find on there.
Yeah, excellent. Sounds really interesting. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah.
So Tim, can you tell us a little bit about your experience with DPDR and how did it start for you?
Yeah, of course. So I guess always just throughout my childhood, my mom always said that I was a pretty anxious kid. But whenever I heard about the word being anxious, I just thought that that just meant you were scared of things. So, but by the year 2014, when I was in 10th grade, so I was a sophomore in high school. I remember I had hung out with my friends and we had tried smoking weed for the first time. And, you know, the first experience we had was a little bit, it was okay, I guess. I felt a little bit strange. We did it a second time. Second time was all right. And then the third time we did it, I got, I guess, what would have been a panic attack, but I didn't know what that was at the time. And I remember I tried to sleep that off. I woke up the next day. I felt okay, but a little bit strange. And then a couple hours into the day, I started thinking about that feeling. And then the feeling kind of got stuck in my head. And that really freaked me out. So I didn't know what to do. And I thought that I just couldn't turn it off. So for many weeks, I was just feeling this way. I was going to school and, you know, my friends were all asking how I was doing because they knew that the last time we hung out and we smoked weed that I went home and wasn't feeling good. So they were asking all these questions. I didn't even know how to answer. I didn't even know what I was feeling. And I was trying to explain this to myself and even, you know, my parents and my brothers, but I just felt like in my head, I was just going crazy. So basically there was a lot of days that I was missing school, and mainly I was talking to my mom and my best friend a lot about it. And then afterwards, eventually after a month or so, I went and I actually saw a psychiatrist, and they had prescribed me SSRIs. And the first medication I took didn't really do much for me. It kind of gave me a bit of a bad side effect, but the next one I went on to, I don't know if it was part of a placebo thing or also just me believing, I guess, that it was just going to work. But I think it was half the battle, like you mentioned in your book, that half the work is me doing it and the medication. You can't rely 100% on the medication. So that kind of helped. And a couple months after, I felt like I was pretty much fully recovered. So now we're in 2015. It was a good year. And then 2016, after I got out of high school, I didn't go to college. I didn't have a job yet. So I was just staying at home. Pretty much, I was the only brother that was at home. My older brother was going to college. My younger brother was in high school. My parents were out all day, and so by me being home alone all day and just being left with my thoughts, and I guess just not really knowing where my life was headed. I remember I was sitting on the couch, and out of nowhere I got this feeling of depersonalization, but it was completely different from what it was 2 years ago. It was like a whole new feeling, and it once again just felt like I was going insane. So I was freaking out a bit inside, but I felt like I had a bit of experience from the past. So I was trying to work on that. And I did have a therapist at the time. So I went to him, and I ended up having a really just crazy panic attack in his office. And that was just really terrifying because I'd never had a public panic attack in front of anybody that, wasn't family or something. So that was a pretty just weird experience. And I managed getting home finally. And I had been off medication at this point. So I ended up getting back on medication. I had eventually gotten a job. But doing all of these things was, so hard. Just the simplest task of just, getting up, working the job, trying to have a conversation with somebody, internally, I just felt like I just was not present and just like I was going to slip out of my own reality. But trying to explain that to somebody, I guess they might not understand, or maybe they think they understand, but I guess I always think of it like nobody can really understand what someone else is feeling because everyone's feeling is completely different. So I think we can all sympathize with people, but we'll never actually fully know what they're going through. And so 2016, that passed. 2017 was good. 2018 was all right. But 2020, when we got towards the pandemic, by this point, I had just gotten out of a bit of a serious relationship. And I had moved back into my dad's house with my brothers. And my two brothers had moved out eventually, and my dad was going to get remarried. And by that point, it was kind of just like how it was before. I was the only one left in the house. I was working a full-time job, and I was a manager there. I was making good money. I was planning on moving out and getting my own place. So I thought, in my mind, everything was going good. I felt like I had progressed really far. Obviously, the stress of the pandemic was, a lot for everybody. Um, I remember I was driving home from work one day, and just when I got home, I took a shower, and this feeling just came upon me. I don't even know how, I don't know when or what caused it, but over time I realized that it was the stress of all the things that I was going through because I was trying to move out on my own. I had a full-time job that I wasn't truly actually happy at. And I just had a lot of things building up on my mind from, leaving the relationship I was in. And I guess just the weight of everything just kind of came in on me. And and then everything fell through. So I ended up not being able to go to work. So I ended up having to go on like a leave of absence. And I didn't end up moving out on my own. I ended up moving in with a family friend, which is where my brothers were at. And I was always this really independent person, especially to my younger brother who looked up to me a lot. And he kind of just started to see me just as, I guess, not that he saw me as something else, but I felt like he saw me as less because I went from somebody who had his life, quote unquote, together to just having nothing at all. And from that point, I was, this is when it got probably to its worst because I ended up being just so anxious and just so depersonalized that I was unable to eat anything. I just couldn't stomach any food. I just couldn't interact with anybody. I felt so out of place, unlike I had ever felt before, even the past few times I had had any depersonalization. And I guess I started to realize, well, I guess I started thinking, I thought I got out of this. Why is this coming back? This must be something else. I must have, something wrong with me. That maybe I have, I don't know, brain cancer or that there's just something going on. And maybe I thought I knew what it was, and it was actually something more serious. And but yeah, I couldn't eat anything, and I ended up losing I believe like 20 pounds. So I was, and before that I was going to the gym, I was healthy, I had, a good amount of muscle. I lost tons of weight. Everybody started to notice, and so many big things were coming up that I had to be a part of. I mentioned before my dad was going to get remarried, and that month when I had lost so much weight, that was the month he was going to get remarried. And I remember going to his wedding, and it was an extremely hard experience because on the surface, everybody thought I probably just seemed like a relatively okay person, but inside I felt like I was going to just collapse and just maybe, I don't know, just leave my body in some way. I mean, it's saying that to you, I'm sure you understand, from past experience, but nobody else does. Um, yeah, that was probably one of the worst experiences that I had, and I knew after that I needed to do something about it. So I eventually got a new job with my older brother, and we worked at a UPS, and we worked there for a couple of months, and I was just trying to get back into the rhythm of just moving forward. And by this point, this is when I found your audiobook. And right before I found your audiobook, I felt like all hope was lost. And I remember I was laying in bed in the dark, and I happened to search up just depersonalization stuff. I came across your book. I thought I got nothing else to lose. So I thought maybe if I bought it, would this be feeding into it and make me worse? Because was it going to be something that made me feel like I was stuck in the condition, or I didn't know what it was fully. So I bought the book, and I remember listening to it for like 4 hours straight. I went on a long walk, and I actually started to feel some bit of just like peace and being a little bit calm, and I felt reassured. And going off of your book, I just listened to it on repeat pretty much day after day when I was working, when I was walking, until the thoughts just started to just kind of keep reaffirming themselves. And everything that I learned from your book, I followed, and I started to feel like I was finding myself again, but not like how it was years ago, because I was truly figuring out how to fully recover. Because I think all the other times I had it, I thought I recovered. I never knew how to stop the feeling. I just put it off until things got really stressful. And yeah, and then I eventually got a job with the dog walking company. So that was a big thing for me. I got back out. I started to go out running a lot. I started to get back to the gym. I stopped just staying inside and just staying with my thoughts. And I started to look at life a lot more positively. And it just really changed my outlook on life in a lot of ways. And in a weird way, I'm just actually super thankful that I went through it because it taught me so much. And now, with everything that I've learned, I love that I feel that one day I could help other people in the same situation if they ever go through it, and or at least just have an understanding of what they're going through, because there's so many people that might be going through it right now that I've seen day to day and I would never know. And I don't know, hope maybe they'll come across this video and they'll see that I went through it, and it gives them some kind of hope and just know that you can recover. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much like the base of my story. There's obviously more details, but that's kind of the general rundown.
Thanks for going through that. Thanks for telling your story, Tim. Uh, Delighted to hear that you've recovered, first of all, and it's yeah, it's always interesting to hear the stories of people who have kind of gone through it at different times, and it's kind of and recovered from it, and it's come back,
Mhm,
which at the time can feel very confusing because it's just like, but I got rid of this, and why is it coming back,
mhm,
But as you mentioned, like it does require a fundamental understanding of what the condition is in order to be able to actually let go of it. Because because what you're describing as well, Tim, I would have experienced on a probably on a shorter scale, but the same thing where I would have had kind of like weeks at a time where I was feeling better. And I
yeah,
thought, okay, well, this is great. Like it's starting to go away. But at the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, but
yeah,
Sean, sure, it could come back next week,
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, and the way you describe as well, Tim, the experiencing it first as well, like thinking about the feeling and
Hmm.
then having it stuck in your head, and
Yeah,
now you're observing it and you can't turn it off. It's like,
yeah,
wait a
yeah,
second, how is it's just
I
like this?
know.
It's just like an alarm clock went off beside your head, and you're just kind of watching it, going,
Yeah,
how do I turn this off?
exactly. I know. I mean,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
yeah, for sure, for sure. I
yeah,
mean, and then I mean, once I kind of put together that it's just a thought habit, is when it kind of started to click for me. Is That's why I can't turn it off,
yeah.
because habits form with you don't even know how fast they form until they're there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. It's great to hear that you were able to speak to your family and to your brothers about it,
mhm.
and that you were speaking to your psychiatrist about it too, right?
Yeah.
Um, when it first started, Tim, how were you describing it to them? And and presumably this was before you kind of came across the term depersonalization. But
Yeah.
how was it for you trying to express the experience to friends and to family and to your therapist or
Right.
psychiatrist?
Well, I guess yeah, trying to explain it was that was really hard, because I just kept thinking that when it first ever happened, I thought that I was stuck in some weird side effect from smoking weed. So I remember I went to it was like our family doctor, and I was trying to explain to him that, I had smoked weed, and I remember him just saying that I'm a bit anxious, and you know, I didn't know what to do with that information, and I was just trying to explain that I kind of just felt like I guess I was just in some kind of fog. Like there was just something like in between like my eyes and my brain, like just some type of just bit of blur. Not that I couldn't see fully, but it was almost just like everything I knew and saw, everything I felt, like I didn't feel anymore. I knew things, but I didn't feel them. So I guess that was what I was trying to explain, was that, you know, I would say to my mom, like, I know you're here. I know all the memories we have. Like, I know you're my mom, but there's a feeling that feels lost now. And taking that away is like such an insane thing to take away, because you don't know that feeling until it's actually there, because right now, like, people just living the regular life, they don't realize what it's like to have that taken away. So trying to figure out how to get a feeling back is a lot harder than I guess it sounds, you know? So that's what I was trying to explain to my friends and my family when I would talk about it, because I wouldn't talk about it easily because I was trying to figure out how to deal with it myself. And I felt like the more I talked about it with them, the more they thought that maybe there was something worse wrong with me, or I just didn't want to feel like they thought that there was some major issue with me, because I didn't want to think that about myself either. I was trying to find any reason to believe that I was okay and this was just a feeling that was going to pass. So
It's a really good description what you say, Tim, about like realizing that there's a feeling of connection that you didn't even realize was there, but now
yeah.
it's gone. So
Hmm.
like I know I'm here. I know I'm in my house or
Yeah.
my folks' house. I know that's my mom. I know that's my
Yeah.
dad. I know that's the dinner I'm supposed to be eating, and there's my dog. But
Yeah.
I can't connect to any of this, and this feels like I am in a dream, and it feels
Right.
like I'm about to wake up at any second, and I don't know how to express that.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like it was like a carpet had been yanked out from under me that I
Mm.
didn't, but I never knew the carpet was there until it had been
Yeah.
yanked out, and
Right.
I'm
Right.
lying on the ground going, where,
Yeah. Yeah.
wait, how did this happen? You know,
Yeah.
um, and Tim, to what extent were you kind of like? Were you worried that like it was something to do with the weed specifically, or were you kind of more aware that this was something that had been caused by a panic attack? Or how was that aspect of it for you?
In the beginning, when it first started, like, I guess the first time I ever experienced any depersonalization, I at first thought it was because of the weed, and I just kept thinking, why was I stupid? Why did I do this? Why did this happen to me specifically? And like, I was living in regrets. Like, if I had never have done this, this would have never happened. And, I didn't want to be anywhere around it. And I just felt like that was the whole cause of everything. But after I'd gotten through that first event in 2014, and 2 years later, I knew it had nothing to do with that anymore. I just realized that that was just a symptom of my anxiety, kind of, and it was just one that I was getting fixated on. And so in the beginning, I thought it was just because of weed, but then after that, I knew it was a symptom, but I didn't know why I was getting the symptom. And even if I knew why I was getting the symptom because of stress or little things like that, I just didn't know how to get it under control, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
for sure. Um, and the thing you mentioned, Tim, about like living in regret, and this was something that I absolutely, because mine was initially triggered by a bad weed experience as well, but I was just like kicking myself, just saying like, why did I do that? Like, and
Yeah.
but it's something I hear from people all the time. It's just like, why did I take that one last drag? Why did I take that second edible?
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me? But you know, it's great that I guess through your own experience you realize that like, okay, but it's not specific to the
Right.
drug, and this is what I say to people all the time is that like, you know, this happened like because of a panic attack. I mean, the triggers can be different. The trigger can be a bad drug experience, but the trigger can be uh, going through a divorce or having a panic attack while you're giving a presentation at work. But if you experience a panic attack while giving a presentation at work, do you need to feel like shame and regret about having a panic attack? Like,
Right.
of course you don't. Also, panic attacks are the most common thing in the world, but we do, and especially if you're younger and you're going through like a panic attack for the first time, and it happens while you're smoking weed or any other drug, there is a tendency to kind of conflate the two experiences and say like, oh, I've damaged my brain with drugs.
Right.
I've fried a circuit in my brain. I'll never be the same. And
Yeah.
but thankfully, through your personal experience, you were able to kind of untangle that.
Yeah.
You mentioned, Tim, at the beginning, we were talking about like how you felt that the subsequent experiences with DPDR were different from before, and like that now it was a whole new feeling. Can you
Mhm.
tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the feeling just grew to be more, I guess I guess the feeling just got more aggressive over time because I don't know if it was as I got older and the more things I had building up, in my life just made it that much harder because, as a teenager, obviously it was super terrifying and I felt like a really big just like an outcast to the world because I felt like everyone was just leading these normal lives. And I remember, I guess a little off topic, but on topic. I remember this one feeling I had in 2014, and I remember I was sitting in the psychiatrist's office, like or the waiting room outside, and it was around Christmas time. And I remember just seeing everybody just living their lives, walking in and out, ready in like the Christmas spirit. And I just had this feeling that made me just super emotional because I thought I used to feel just, Christmas festivities and stuff like that, which sounds like it's just such a minor thing that you don't think about. But when I realized that I couldn't enjoy that anymore and that I was just sitting here not being able to feel that, just see it, is when it just like really started to just kind of eat at me. And I just knew I really wanted to get out of that feeling. But yeah, as the years went on, I think as I got older and, started to have a job and more responsibilities, that's what definitely made it a lot harder because I thought, I have to interact with people more. I have more things I have to get done. Like I need to make money. I need to be able to function in this society to make it by. And, just seeing, my parents get older and me not living with them anymore and having to be independent made me feel, I guess, that much more alone because I felt like, the world and I feel like the world is expecting me to be able to handle myself. And I guess the feelings just became just, they didn't get to a point of like I was suicidal or anything, but I definitely had a lot of moments where I just thought, you know, I can't really think why I should keep going if I'm just going to feel this way because I'm not really doing much good for me or the world. Um, and it's not like I had like any serious thoughts of like, oh, how do I want to act on this? It was just I just kept feeling like, I guess if I woke up the next day and I wasn't there, it might not be that bad. And I didn't like having those thoughts. And I remember I went out on a walk this one night, um, and it was just a dark, windy night. And I just remember like just looking up to the sky, and just asking the world, why am I in this position? And, like, is it ever going to end? And yeah, it was a tough time. And, it was just one of those few times in, that feeling where I got like really emotional about it. And, but it actually being emotional in some way kind of felt nice because I was feeling something. So it was, I guess it gave me some reason to just keep trying.
Certainly. Um, really rings a bell with me actually, the what you mentioned about seeing the world go by, and times like Christmas or holidays and things where you really see things like community and kind of
Yeah.
festive spirit and things, and you just and realizing that like this has nothing to do with me, like, and I can pretend like I can take part in this, like, but I feel like spiritually and emotionally plugged out of this. I can be present, I could be doing anything, like, this is, and it just kind of felt gray and
Yeah.
not, kind of numb. And yeah, um and yeah, and certainly kind of having those moments as well of kind of thinking that there was no way out, like, you know, that there was no possible, like, I remember a time thinking where like nobody can help me, like
Yeah.
thinking that there's like nobody can just explain to me what's going on and
Yeah.
what I need to do to recover. And you know, I'm being told that it's just anxiety, which I mean technically is correct, but it just there was just so there
Yeah.
was such little information in that statement to kind of help, because I'm thinking like, like this isn't anxiety, because I like my vision feels like it's affected,
Yeah.
anxiety never caused me to feel like I'm literally disconnected from the world around me. This has to be different.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to a question that I actually meant to ask earlier, Tim. But so you mentioned about the feeling that there was like a kind of like a pane of glass between you and the world. Um, but can you talk a bit more just about specifically the symptoms that you experienced at these different times? What were the symptoms that were the most consistent or the most distressing to you?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, I had, I guess the one feeling is I would almost feel, I don't really know how to fully explain this one, but it definitely just felt like I remember some nights I would, I would go to sleep hoping I could just wake up without the feeling, and I would wake up in the middle of the night in a panic attack. And I remember, I would feel like if I didn't ground myself in that moment just enough, my presence was gonna just leave and I don't know, maybe I would just I don't know what would happen after that, but it just felt like whatever was left of myself was just getting sucked out and going to be put somewhere else, and I was just going to be left as this just like I don't know, just being, but with no feeling whatsoever. It always felt like I could just keep that little bit of feeling somewhere to just have with me. I'd also just have um moments of like, I guess like almost like a cold sweat, or like I guess just like almost like a hot flash, I guess, I would just feel like internally like sweating. Um and yeah, objects felt like they were like sometimes I felt like if I stared at an object, it just looked different, like maybe the size of it looked different. And that started to make me feel like, my reality was never actually like what reality was, just like something changed in the world, or I just had all these crazy thoughts of, like just maybe I don't know, I can't even fully explain them really, like now that I think about it. But at the time it was just having all these nonsensical thoughts that you know the world had changed, and only for me, but only I was the one who could see it. And that just made me just think, I wish I could just forget about these things. And even if the world isn't, you know, um, what it was, I could just go back to thinking that way. It felt like I saw the world in a different way than anybody else, but in a way I didn't want to. Like I'd rather just go back to the way that everybody else was seeing it, even if it's not the truth, even though looking back at it now, I know that anything I was thinking about, was just it was just a negative, irrational thought I was having. Um, but trying to think of some of the symptoms. I guess, well, what were some of the symptoms you had? Because maybe that'll ring a bell.
My
um,
God, how long do you have? Like, I
like, I'm
got,
sure if you say a couple, I'll
oh.
be like, oh, now, yeah,
Oh my goodness. Visual symptoms
yeah,
ongoing. I had issues with constant issues with memory. I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't read a book. I couldn't watch a film.
yeah,
I felt like I felt the time had sped up. I felt the time had slowed down.
yeah,
My sleep was all over the place. I was having constant nightmares.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just the top of my head. You know,
Oh,
it's
yeah, okay. Well, yeah, no, okay, yeah. For sure. I mean, yeah, definitely, yeah, changes in time for sure. It definitely, I would say it felt a lot more like things were probably slowed down, at least most of the time, because it would be when I was in a situation that I wanted to get out of, you know. I'd felt like, when is this moment going to end so I can get out of here? Um, and yeah, I mean, yeah, just waking up with nightmares. It sucked going to sleep, just wanting to just have 1 minute of peace, and then just even in your sleep, I was dreaming about depersonalization. You know, I was dreaming about just still experiencing it, and the second I wake up, just being right there with it. So it was just 24/7, and it just felt, and it just felt like I never got any sleep. And then when I realized that, you know, all my thoughts I had all day was basically just the feeling of depersonalization, I felt so exhausted mentally that it felt like I just, you know, almost just ran like a couple miles and then studied for a big exam or something. But I was just standing in place all day, like nothing happened. It's the worst,
Yeah.
worst feeling.
Yeah,
So
for sure. I actually remember specifically, Tim, like one of the like probably one of the worst moments in the whole experience for me was when I went to I went to sleep one night and I'd been having an awful day, and I woke up in the middle of the night. So and I was having a nightmare in which I was experiencing like full on panic and DPDR. And then I woke up and I like remember sitting in the darkness, like,
mhm.
and then had a panic attack in real life in just sitting there in total darkness and just
Yeah,
thinking, okay, now this is literally 24/7. This is
mhm.
like when I go to sleep, it's not a guaranteed break. Like I could, I'm going to be thinking about this 24/7 and just thinking like how on earth did this happen? And interestingly, that was I was actually at a family wedding as well, a family
Yeah,
wedding abroad, which kind of reminded me of what you mentioned earlier,
yeah,
Tim, of and the thing of like kind of the same thing with Christmas, except
mhm.
it's kind of even more compressed because you were literally walking around meeting all of your family members. You're
Yeah.
meeting a whole new bunch of people as well, and you have to be kind of on top of your game. You have to be social. You have to be chatting. You have to be fun. And then in
Mhm.
your head, you're thinking like, I am just, I don't even feel like I'm here. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, quite, it's weddings, weddings
yeah.
with
I mean,
anxiety can be,
for sure. Well, I mean, honestly, that was why, I mean, I know if anyone who hasn't obviously heard your book, um, you know, me hearing your book was what thankfully just made me really feel like a huge connection, because, you know, we were around the same age when you were going through it. The wedding thing was a huge thing. Also, the fact that you're a musician. Um, and yeah, it just made me feel like, wow, okay, this guy really, you know, he really can relate to, like, I can really relate to what he's going through. And that really gave me hope of, you know, you're fully recovered, and just you know, I had my fair share of like, oh, well, what if this is just, you know, some book to just make me, you know, just buy it and not actually anything come out of it. But, you know, I had like full belief in it, and everything you were saying, I was like, I don't think anyone could explain this feeling unless they really went through it, you know? So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely the weddings. Yeah, definitely the weddings, and just yeah, having to interact with people in that kind of a setting is so tough, you know. It really just drains you. So
yeah. The thing as well of like I'm not being able to eat and losing weight was a major thing with me. I like just basically stopped eating for a couple of weeks, and I had to get like a protein shake to put something into my body because I like dropped I dropped a crazy amount of weight, and I would just like again, it's that thing of like looking at food and kind of thinking I know that my body needs food, but then
I
looking
know,
at it
yeah,
on the table and being just like I do not want to eat this. I can't put this into my body, like, and yeah, and that was terrifying. That was because I started thinking maybe I have some sort of like muscular wasting disease or something, or
yeah,
there's something serious wrong with my stomach or something.
yeah,
Yeah, and just also the thing of like watching kind of looking in the mirror, and you're a young man in your prime, like, and you're
Yeah.
just like, and all your muscles dropping away, your weight's dropping away, you look like a skeleton. It was terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, yeah, that's what I kept thinking. I was 22 at that point, so I was just like, why? Like, these are supposed to be the years where, I find myself, I'm happy. Make friends, find like good relationships, and I was just thinking, is this how the rest of my life's going to go? And I just thought, there's never a good time for it. There never will be. But I just kept thinking, why now? And just like, why me? Not that I would want it on anybody else, or I don't wish I don't wish the feeling on, my worst enemy. But um, yeah, it was, yeah, just having it around that time, that age in life, it definitely it definitely brings in another negative thought factor of something that's just going to keep adding to the feeling, I guess, because you're just then reaffirming the fact that you're still stuck in that feeling, and I guess that's what continues it down a spiral.
Yeah. And the thing you mentioned as well, Tim, about like the loss of independence, and kind of, you mentioned like how you were aware of how your brother saw you, like, and
Yeah,
that was definitely a thing with me as well. Was that, like, I mean, it made sense for me to move home with my parents because I was like completely helpless. I couldn't do anything for myself. But also there was a part of me that was just kind of going, "Oh my God, I'm in my mid 20s, like, and I'm moving back. I've stopped working, moved back
yeah,
home with my parents, and like my mom's making meals for me again, which I'm looking at, and I can't eat,
yeah,
and kind of and realizing all that independence that I had been working towards as a teenager, and kind of going to college and all that, that is now, it's just wiped clean. It's gone, and
yeah,
I'm back to being completely dependent on other people, and how disappointed I felt in myself at the time. Which now I realize it was, I mean, unfair to think of that, like, but at the
right,
time it's just like, I can't believe this has happened. And again, and also there's no good reason for it. It's just like, again, the carpet's been yanked out, and now you're living at home, and you
yeah,
are, yeah, barely able to
yeah,
function.
it all happens so fast, and yeah, just all the little things, just you start to just miss the fact of being able to just have like a genuine laugh, not a laugh that's like staged, or just, yeah, and even just going outside and enjoying nature and the world, like that feeling, just there was always a connection with it before, and just sucks because you feel like no matter where you go, no matter what you try to do, you're not going to be able to ever feel it. And yeah, until you start actually taking the steps to get out of it. And I guess that's the hardest part, is definitely just finding out, first of all, what depersonalization even is, because I remember, that took me, I think, like 2 months to figure out what that was. And I remember the day I came across it, and I was like, wow, I just can't believe I came across this. And I remember when I did recover that first time, or I guess partially recovered, I would tell a lot of people that I met, or friends that were going through anxiety, about depersonalization. And I would just say that, like, this was something that I'd never even heard of in my whole life. Like, a lot of people, I'll still say the word, people don't have no idea what it means. Like, you ever heard of depersonalization? They're like, no, never heard of it in my life, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so,
Where,
yeah.
where did you come across it, Tim? Was it on Google or a forum or
Yeah,
something? Or
Yeah, it was on Google, and then after I came across it on Google, I found a video on YouTube, and it was this girl talking about her experience, and she was kind of around a little bit older than me at the time. So, and I watched her video, and I think I saw another video from another guy, and he, like, his like thing he said at the end of the video was, don't keep coming back to search for these videos. Just take what I've told you, and like just keep living your life, and forget about this word, and forget about this thing. And I kind of went with that, and I was like, that kind of makes sense, because if I keep thinking about that, I'm just going to keep looking it up. um and thankfully, at these times in my life, you know, I just had a lot of good friends with me, and, you know, they weren't going to constantly keep bringing up like, oh, how you feeling about, you know, how you feeling anxiously? Because if they did that, I would feel very just, you know, then I just probably wouldn't want to hang out as much because I'd feel like that's what they're thinking about me as. So thankfully, I had a lot of like, you know, great friends and my brothers and family that didn't bring it up, and they didn't even really think anything about it. They thought I was fine, and I was able to just kind of move forward with my life and just get back into the swing of things, and you know, until it kind of just went away on its own. But I guess it was until, you know, like I said, until I learned how to actually handle it myself, because it was always kind of like it went away, but it went away because I was able to just get out of the habit. But I wanted to learn how to like kick the habit out forever. And you know, that's what your book did. So, you know, the videos and the forums definitely helped, but I just think having some type of like guided like thing like your book is like really is one of the greatest things, you know. So
That's great to hear. Um, Tim, in last question about the symptoms, I promise, but
yeah,
in
yeah.
all of your in all of your time with the like experiencing it across the years, like in kind of having a different context, what was the what was the lowest point across all of that? Was there a specific moment or experience that sticks with you?
Probably, I mean, definitely the wedding experience. Because before the wedding, before the wedding, I remember I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was just telling her how I was feeling. And I thought that there was something so severely wrong with me that I was about to skip my dad's wedding and possibly just check in to somewhere, because I thought I needed to just have some type of an evaluation. And I was about to just not go to the wedding, and I would have felt guilty because I wouldn't have been there for my dad. And you know, I really felt like there was just no hope for me. So, but I just thought, you know, if, and I guess that was when, you know, I was also in my thoughts of, you know, not thinking suicidal, but just feeling like, you know, who cares if I died or something, you know? And I was really just kind of that was probably my lowest point. But I remember I was like, for my dad, I'll go, even if, you know, it means I lose my full reality at the wedding. I want to make my dad happy. So I'll go. And I went and I got through it, and it was like the toughest thing ever. And I had to interact with so many people. There was food everywhere that I had to try my best to eat and put on like my best face. But I remember after that, I have a picture of me at that wedding, which I can show you later. But that was when I was at like my skinniest weight. Um, and but after that event, I remember that being my lowest. I told myself that once I fully recover from depersonalization, that I was going to get like a tattoo to remind me of it. So I have this tattoo right here. I don't know if you can see it, but
No way. Oh
it's
wow.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh
it's
my God.
it's
That's
a
amazing.
yeah. So it's supposed to be. I'll send you a picture so you can show it on the
Oh
screen.
yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but it's supposed to basically represent, I guess, me. There's like a TV head on it, and it's kind of like all the colors of it's supposed to be like the colors of just life kind of passing me by. And it's
Yeah,
supposed
yeah,
to
yeah.
be in the wedding suit.
Oh,
Um, and just feeling how on in my life, you know, I just felt like I was looking at what everyone saw as this great day. And, you know, I was like looking great. I was in this nice fitted, like expensive suit that I'd never thought I would have owned before. And, you know, I remember buying the suit months previously when I was in a great mindset. I was looking forward to this day. And then now I'm in the suit. I feel like I'm just like, this is just like probably like my last few days or something. And I just knew that when I fully recovered, I was like, I want like my first ever tattoo to be something to remind myself that I can always look down and just be like, yeah, this is something I got through. Because one, it also looks really cool. But you know, a lot of people like to ask about it, and I'm like, it's a long story of a tattoo.
Yeah.
I'll be like, let's just go with,
Just
it's just like anxiety.
just tell them it's a Celtic symbol.
Yeah. Because I'm like, do you have like at least 30 minutes to talk about this tattoo? Or?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's a lovely graphic as well. Like it's a
Yeah.
great design.
Yeah, I'll send you the pictures you can show. But yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice because the full-time job I had in 2020 before I quit, my manager there, everybody had these really nice tattoos. I wanted something with color and something kind of a bit like, not like too modern, just kind of a little bit like, I guess, cartoony, because I feel like that I have like a childish mindset in some ways. I wanted something that was like just, I don't know, fun and like was represented me. And I went to this person who lived in New York to get the tattoo. So I drove like, it was a long day. I drove like 2.5 hours to get the tattoo. I laid there for like 5 hours and then I drove home. I was gone for like 12 hours and I was exhausted and I was like, well, hey, I mean, it's not as exhausting as when I went through depersonalization. So, I mean, but yeah, I'm super glad to have it. I don't know what tattoo I want to get next but I'm glad that this was my first one. So, but
That is
yeah.
awesome. What a cool
Yeah.
story, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned kind of your like how you start to recover a little bit, Tim, but can you tell us a bit more about that? Like how did the recovery process start, and kind of more specifically, what did it feel like to start to kind of let go of those old thoughts and habits?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, well, I guess really the recovery process started a little bit after Halloween in 2020, because this was when I found your audiobook and I started listening to it. And I kind of just went with the mindset of, all right, if I'm going to be stuck living in this mindset for the rest of my life, how can I just move forward with it and just accept that and just, not think about it, but just accept like as if I was born this way and just be like, I can't let it affect me, I can't let it affect me. So I was like, I'm gonna, live my life like a regular person, and I'm gonna get up every day. I'm not gonna lay in bed. I'm gonna have conversations with people and just think that this feeling that I have is just always gonna be there, and I can't let it get the best of me. And I started living like that, and I also did a lot of other things. I got on, good diet, exercising, just like even things with like caffeine. Like I used to love drinking coffee and energy drinks pre-workout before the gym, and I was like, I'm just not going to have that. And I think that was like a hard thing to do at first, but once I got into just a mindset of just creating my own routine again, I started to just feel like I had something I was living for. And yeah, I guess the big thing was, like I said, was just thinking about like if I had to live with this feeling for the rest of my life, like I can still get through with that. Because I guess saying that to myself made me think like I can get through like living like this. It's just obviously nobody wants to. But I guess if you start thinking about that and you stop thinking about looking up and reading up on depersonalization and just going about your life and just living it. And I guess I thought about living my life being there for my friends and being a great friend and being a great brother and being a great coworker. And I just thought, let me bring like joy to other people's lives and let them see me as like, who I am, because they'll never see what's going on inside for me. So let me just, be my best self, even if I don't feel it, until eventually it just became that. Just like depersonalization came on, just like the depersonalization habit came on before I knew how it even got there. It was like me getting back to my regular self came on before I even knew how it got there, and then I would look back after like a couple of months and I'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess I am fine. I'd always think that it was still there, but it wasn't. And I guess the one thing you mentioned in your book was if you put a time on it, like if you say like, okay, in 6 months exactly to date, I will be fully recovered. That's not the mindset you want to be in, because if you are, then you're just going to be looking forward to that day. And that's just reconfirming the belief that you're still thinking about living in this negative thought habit, you know? So, and then, yeah, I guess just, I guess, I know I'm saying a lot, but I guess realizing that a lot of things in life are habitual. Like almost everything is pretty much habitual. Like you can make anything habitual, not just drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes. Like thought habits was a huge thing for me to realize. Like, wow, anything can become that. It can sneak up on you so fast. You'll never realize it, and you don't know how it got there. And now you have to figure out how to get out of it. But once you do, and you can, like, now you have that knowledge to know how to get back out of it with anything else that comes in life, you know, anything that's not depersonalization, whether it's drinking caffeine or just laying in bed or, you know, just anything. I guess they say, you know, too much of anything isn't always a good thing. So, you know, but yeah, I guess that's what kind of helped me get out, was just trying to put myself in a better mindset of just living my life as if like this was just how I'll be, and I'm just not gonna let it affect me or get in my way, because like I don't know, I can get through it, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So now that you've recovered, Tim, um, is normal actually back to normal? What's your day-to-day life like? Because this is something that people ask me all the time, and it was something that I always thought to myself, like, okay, but I maybe if I even if I can recover, it's not going to be quite the same. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's always recovery with an asterisk or with like some strings attached. But how has recovery been?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, that was definitely something I thought. I was like, well, I'll never fully be the same, right? Like I'm probably never going to be like 100% Tim. I'm probably going to be like, you know, 85% Tim. Then there's that small percentage of like, I'm still in that weird mindset. But no, totally. Honestly, I think that I'd say that getting out of the condition, I feel better than I felt before I was even in the condition, because I've learned so much from it, and it's made me to be so much of a stronger person mentally and physically. Um, and it's taught me how to be so much more sympathetic or empathetic with other people, and just it's made me appreciate so many more things in life. And I think um you know, going through like these scary experiences can just actually just improve your life in some ways, you know. I mean, there's never going to be a good time for them, but I think that, you know, going through them just goes to show, you know, how strong you can be, you know. And yeah, I would say that, you know, I feel great. And I guess my day-to-day life now is you know, I'll always wake up, I'll go to work, I'll work, you know, full time, I'm outside all day having conversations with people. I'm, you know, drinking coffee again, having caffeine, you know, it's not bothering me. I go to the gym every day. Um, and I just feel like, you know, more confident than I've ever felt. And you know, I kind of I feel that people who are going through tough times, whether it's like anxiety or depression, like I think that they feel that they can come to me more, because I feel like now I have something that is like drawn to me, that they feel like, oh, this guy's been through stuff, or he's actually listening, because I do understand, you know. I'll never fully know what they're feeling, but I can totally understand that what people are going through. So but yeah, I guess I feel great, and my day-to-day life is really good, and I have my own apartment now, which is, you know, really cool. And you know, I guess, you know, thinking about it now, like I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of really great things, and just, you know, that some people might not have right now. And I think that my journey from depersonalization was like a big factor to me even getting here, honestly. So yeah.
It's great. Did you
Yeah.
find this the DP manual was helpful in your recovery?
Oh, it was so helpful. I mean, literally, I still sometimes just go and listen back to just parts because I think even without, it's not even about, that's the whole thing is it's not about depersonalization. It's really about anxiety because depersonalization is it's just a symptom of anxiety. So if it's like if I was ever feeling anxious or if someone I knew was feeling anxious, I would send them a part from the audiobook to be like, listen to this. This was super helpful to me. And sometimes I just listen to it just to remind me of, you know, where I was at a time and how good things are now and just you know, how helpful the book was for me. But I think it was probably like the best money I'd ever spent on like any audiobook ever. Like honestly, it was like a savior to me. So I mean, that's why I was super excited that we were able to even like get on here and talk because I was always thinking in my head like, oh, maybe one day I'll get to talk to Sean. But I was like, I never thought it'd actually be like just like just like on Zoom or something. So it's a really great experience to actually be here. So but
That's
yeah.
that's so good to hear, man. That's so good to hear. Um, so Tim, one more question for you. People who might be watching the channel going through what you went through a couple of years ago and a few times over the years, um, might be in that place where they're experiencing for the first time. They're not sure what's going on, and they might be doubtful that recovery is possible or that they can change their situation. But what advice would you have for anyone going through DPDR?
I would say that just know that, you are definitely not alone for sure. I mean, me and you are both living proof right here. Everybody else that's been on the channel right now, just think every view that you have on any of your videos, like that's a view from somebody that is going through it and wants knowledge on it and most likely has recovered from it. And just know that you will recover. Like this isn't permanent. Um, just don't put a time frame on it, and just know that like there's going to be really tough days and there's going to be some better days, and the point where you fully recover, you're just not going to know you fully recovered. You'll look back at some random point at some random day. You'll wake up, you'll get out of bed, you'll brush your teeth, you'll go to work, and then at some random point when you're just, I don't know, taking a bite of a sandwich, you'll just go, oh yeah, I haven't even thought about that. And then that's the moment you realize that you're out of it. Um, so just know that like everything, there's nothing wrong with you. Everything is gonna work out. Don't think of this as a setback. Think of this as the universe telling you that um, you're a really strong person, and it's just trying to just uh, reward you for your greatness. Honestly, it sounds weird, but I promise you that in the end, you'll come back and you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about if you're going through it right now. So yeah,
Like, that's great advice. Before we go, tell us a little bit more about your YouTube channel, the drumming channel.
yeah, yeah. It's my YouTube channel is it's Tim Morris Drums. And I guess you can leave the link in the description or wherever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you, I guess, need any drum lessons or want any drum advice or just want to hear a drum cover or you need me to record drums for you, I'll totally do that. And yeah, feel free to subscribe and just, give me any feedback on anything. And yeah, if you're a drummer yourself and you're just starting, just keep going. Like I said, I'm self-taught and you can teach yourself anything. So just I hope you like the videos.
Who's your favorite drummer?
Probably Travis Barker from Blink, Blink 180.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's probably my favorite. And then I don't know if you know the band 21 Pilots.
yeah.
Yeah, Josh Dunn, the drummer in that band, he's really good. Um, so they're probably my top two favorites, just because their creativity around the kit it's definitely where I got a lot of my inspiration from. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. I was raised on John Bonham, so
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
yeah,
you can't go wrong with John Bottom.
not go wrong with John Bonham. Yeah, I love the stuff in like an Achilles Last Stand, or When the Levee Breaks, or oh god, this In My Time of Dying. You know that one,
Yeah,
off Physical Graffiti, and
yeah.
it's like 10 minutes long, but the drumming
I
is
know.
insane in it. Like it's just that thing of like he's they're it's just you can hear that it's like people in a group in a studio, and like Bonham is absolutely tearing it apart,
It's crazy because it's one of those things where you're so like you're amazed by it. It's inspiring, and you're also just like you're like, how is it even possible? How can I achieve that level? Like, will I ever be good enough, or is it just like, was he born with it, or did he just, I don't know. But regardless, it's amazing, and it's like, I mean, I don't know. Drums are just, it's just such a cool concept. I mean, all instruments, but I think drums are so cool that it's just, it's wood shells with skin on them, and you're just hitting it with a drumstick, and it like basically is the backbeat of a whole song. It's what keeps, we're the timekeepers, and a lot of people who don't, play music, they don't even realize how important the drums are, and
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. I know we mentioned it before. We started the interview, Tim, but I had read the Dave Grohl's autobiography quite recently, but he talks about like how much he loves drumming in it, like, and how it's
yeah,
kind of this like kind of contained like animalistic expression, but it's
sure,
so powerful. But he taught it's so interesting because I know you mentioned that you're self taught as well. But he talks about how he was self taught, and then he's there's a section in the book where his daughter asks him, like, would you show me how to play the drums? And
yeah,
he kind of freaks out because he thinks like, well, I can't. Like, hopefully there's
yeah,
no
yeah,
theory. Like, I can show you how to hit the things,
yeah,
but like,
right.
don't ask me any theory.
I know,
But
yeah,
I love that there's a bit in there's I remember reading like Slash's autobiography as well, and like it's mayhem, of course, like, but there's like the moments in that book where he talks about like his love of the guitar, and there's a couple of paragraphs where he describes like the day that they recorded Sweet Child of Mine, and
mhm,
like he says that like there was something kind of there's something in the molecules
mhm.
of what was in the air in the studio that day, that I got this specific tone that I didn't get quite right the day before or the day after, but that day that we recorded that song, we got it right. And it's
Wow,
so poetic. It's so
yeah,
beautiful, and
totally.
Dave Grohl talks about drums in that same way. He's just like, this is like, it's ethereal, and
Yeah,
it's power, and it's like, and it's primal, and it's so expressive.
yeah. No, totally. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I forgot to mention that I do have a band with my best friend. And like that's definitely like the same thing. Like we would have, there'd be like some type of energy, we'd be working on a song for like weeks, and then we'd get there this one day, and just like it just kind of happened just like that, just like coming up
Yeah.
with a song, or just like the drum pattern I came up with, just happened to work on that very day. Um, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what he's saying about the drums in like the animalistic instinct like feeling, because I was always kind of a quiet kid growing up in school, and like I always felt like me being loud was playing the drums, because that was how I could talk. That's how I was communicating, and I could just get so many just emotions out on the drums, and it's just yeah, it's just so cool, because really the only thing I learned on the drums was how to play the basic drum beat, and then, just kind of what like a time signature was. And once I learned that, like once I just knew about that, that's when I realized I could just create anything from that. Like I think that's all you really need to know is the foundation of how to start a beat, and like a fill, and you can create a song pretty much. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Tim, it has been so lovely speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insight and experience with the channel. I know there's going to be people watching this who find your story inspirational and informative. Yeah, it's been so lovely chatting with you, man. Thank you for your time.
And yeah, I had a great time. Like I was honestly looking forward to this so much. I was telling a bunch of my friends that because they know that I listened to your audiobook, and I was like, I'm about to talk to Sean O'Connor, the guy. Like it's crazy. They were like, that no way. That's so cool. So yeah, they're gonna watch this too. Even it's I'm just super excited to be here. So I really appreciate you having me, and I've had a great time. So
Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you on the channel. Tim, it was great to meet you, and enjoy life post recovery. Keep drumming, and take it easy.
Thank you, you too, Sean.